12 days ago, y'all got the American taxpayer on the hook to pay for travel and time off for elective abortions. And you did not make this with anybody in this room or Congress taking a vote.
On the issue of providing non-covered reproductive health care for our women, I would just say, Senator, almost 1 in 5 of our troops are women. And they don't get a chance to choose where they're stationed. So almost 80,000 of our women are stationed in places where they don't have access to non-covered reproductive health care. This policy is based on strong legal grounds.
Wow, that sounds like our military is super focused on everything they should be focused on. Joining me now, Congressman from the great state of Texas, Chip Roy. Congressman, that's the Defense Secretary. I'm extremely concerned about China, Russia, Iran. He seems to be concerned with other things.
Jesse, this is the fundamental problem we face right now. And I want to give credit, shout out to Senator Tuberville from Alabama, who's been holding up nominees in order to try to make a point that we should not be using taxpayer dollars to fund abortion through the Pentagon. But yet that is just another extension of this incompetent regime over the Department of Defense that continues to use it as a social engineering experiment wrapped in a uniform. And that is not the way we should do business. We are not going to increase recruiting by continuing to stick all of our recruits into DEI and critical race theory and, we hate whitey type, exposés. And that's what's happening. And if you talk to all the recruits and you serve and you talk to guys that are still serving and gals that are still serving, they're having to put up with all this garbage. And here you're seeing it now, taxpayer funded abortions in the Pentagon. And they're continuing to, you saw that diversity position, the woman 2 weeks ago who said something like, oh, these white folks, in their caudacity or whatever it is, some sort of, ridiculousness. But, this is what's going on a regular basis there.
Congressman, you know what I hear that shocks me most? I don't know about shocks me, but it really brings home the problem. My whole life, guys who have served, guys I knew who served, they always talked to their kids about serving and pushed their kids to serving. Congressman, I don't know a single veteran friend of mine from Iraq or Afghanistan that is encouraging his children to join the military. In fact, most of them are telling their children not to join the military. I don't think people understand what a big deal that is when these legacy military families are checking out and we're filling up our military with turds.
Well, this is, and thank you for highlighting this, and thank you because you as a veteran have the voice to be able to say that in ways that people like me who did not serve in the military, it's harder for us to make that point. And so thank you for doing it. But it actually gives me pain to say it and to agree with you because the fact is we need our best young men and best young women to serve. And God bless the ones who do. I, in my job as a member of Congress, have to make appointments to the military academies. And, I talk every, day almost, certainly every week to families in the district I represent and make these nominations. And these are great kids. I met with a group of naval aviators just this last weekend in Austin, all just great Americans who love their country and they're very competent. Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. But the military brass is trying to destroy that culture. It's purposeful. It's part of an assault on our culture by a bunch of woke leftists that this administration is pushing. And that this brass at the top of the Pentagon are trying to continue to perpetuate. They're undermining our national security, destroying our readiness, destroying our recruiting, making us more vulnerable to China. And they are undermining the very thing they're supposed to protect in uniform. They should be called out for it. And the next president of the United States ought to obliterate the leadership of the Pentagon and start over.
Oh, he should. He should. And hopefully Lloyd Austin will... Well, here's Lloyd Austin from yesterday. I have something to say about this.
Has there ever been any accountability for anyone within the Department of Defense for the deadly, botched, and embarrassing withdrawal from Afghanistan? Any accountability?
Hey, listen, our troops evacuated 124,000 people off of that airfield.
Has anyone been held accountable? If a Navy captain grounded a ship, what happens immediately?
Typically, that captain is removed.
That captain is removed. Has anyone been held accountable for what happened in Afghanistan?
To my knowledge, no.
to my knowledge. One, that's an unbelievable statement. Two, Congressman, as you well know, the history of the world is generals resigning on their own in disgrace after failure in the battlefield. Some cultures, they actually commit suicide. Not that I want us to start doing things like that. But in our country, they've been put on trial before for horrific failures. Not one member of the United States military has resigned in disgrace or been fired after an international embarrassment like that. That's the kind of thing that tells rural boys in Texas, I won't join this military. My leaders aren't accountable at all, but I'll be held accountable.
Well, you're exactly right. We had 13 dead Marines and certainly men and women in uniform. We had $85 billion of assets left behind. We have pictures of the Taliban showing that they've got those assets. They're able to either use them or retrofit them and figure out how to use them. It was a complete abandonment of Bagram. I have been calling for a review of our authorization to use of military force, and I didn't think we needed to have a massive footprint over there. But what we should have done was pulled in and tightened around, maintained Bagram so that we could have a foothold there. But not be over there building, soccer fields and trying to, go out and insert ourselves into the communities in Afghanistan, but have a presence to make sure we're defending our interests without abandoning it and turning it over to our enemies. I mean, it was an absolute debacle from top to bottom. Just God bless all of you who served. I know we accomplished a number of great things there, but the leadership of this country has failed us. And we're seeing that now with the consequences with burn pits. And now what we're having to deal with, we're seeing that now while we continue to operate under 20-year-old authorization for the use of military force. We have a war machine complex in this town that continues to perpetuate spending and obliterating our fiscal health, weakening our resolve and our ability to fight, a real challenge in China. We've got cartels that are getting empowered in the Western Hemisphere. We now have China and Brazil working on something other than the US dollar. This is all on this administration's watch, but it's not this administration. It's weak-kneed, gutless Republicans who refuse to stand up and lead this country forward as well. And we've got to do a better job of it.
Brazil, China, dumping the US dollar as the intermediary. China is getting deadly serious and making huge gains internationally. Goodness sakes, they're brokering deals between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Talk about cats and mice living together. This is a really, really, really big deal, what they're doing, while we focus on hanging pride flags from our embassy. What are we doing?
Well, we're doing exactly like that. And also we are allowing our wide open borders to embolden and encourage China and cartels. We have a narco-terror state in Mexico. We have China now, major footholds, strongholds in South America and Central America, Mexico, because we refuse to export the rule of law, ensure that we've got a strong Western Hemisphere economic agreement so that we're actually pushing back on China. And instead, we're allowing China to beat us in our own backyard in the Western Hemisphere. The next president should have a bold, effectively a Monroe Doctrine of the 21st century. We're going to reclaim the Western Hemisphere. We're going to be making sure that the rule of law is respected, root out the narco-terror states, push China out of the Western Hemisphere, and reestablish our dominance here, because this is our backyard, and we need to make sure we're doing that in the next administration.
What is H.R. 29, Chip?
It is a glorious bill that would do what the American people want us to do, which is to ensure that we are no longer releasing people into the United States using asylum as an excuse to blow the hell out of our actual border security and sovereignty. There are some people who are trying to say that it is an anti-asylum bill. It's not true. What it is a bill that says simply we should detain, adjudicate a claim to asylum if somebody has a credible fear of being persecuted for their religious or political beliefs. Then we can handle those cases, but then we should turn away if we don't have the beds to be able to house them for the duration of a claim. That's all we're saying. And that's basically what the Trump administration was doing. And so we're going to continue to move that policy forward here legislatively. There's a few people squawking about it, but I think there's general agreement that we need to return to the Trump policies that were working. That's what H.R. 29 would do. Anybody saying otherwise is not being truthful, but we're going to root this out and try to get something moving here the next couple of weeks. The week we get back from Easter, I expect to move legislation that will do what we need to do to have detention space and then turn away if we're not detaining for an adjudication of some claim.
Senator, oh, sorry, no, that's for the future. Senator, I appreciate you. Come back soon, Chip.
God bless, Jesse. Thank you.
You bet. We're getting him in the Senate. I don't even know if he wants to. We're just going to bully Chip Roy right into the Senate.